The Bitcoin Group, the American original. For over the last 10 seconds, the sharpest Satoshis, the best Bitcoins, the hardest cryptocurrency talk. We'd like to welcome our panelists, Dan Eve, the Crypto Raptor,
I like turtles.
Ben from BTC IoT,
Hello, how do you do?
Corey from Bitcoin Podcasts,
Hello.
and I'm Thomas Hunt from the World Crypto Network. Moving on to issue one. Issue one, Bitclub Ponzi. According to Wired magazine, this Bitcoin scam looked a lot like a pyramid scheme. 5 men now face federal charges of bilking investors of $722 million by inviting them to buy shares in Bitcoin mining pools. Of course, you already know about this because we talked about the Bitclub on Bitcoin Group number 124. Tone, of course, called it a scam and a Ponzi. Maybe he was right. Dan Eve, what do you think about the Bitclub?
Well, it sounds like they're going to be in a bit of trouble by the looks of it. I think they're all three of them are up for peddling securities charges, and 2 of them on fraud, is it? So, yeah, it's not looking good. It's never good when people get scammed, and it's bad. You've got to do your research and stuff. Sometimes there are opportunities, but most of the time it's a scam.
Ben from Wales.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of a product of, in lawless Bitcoin land, it's quite easy to have a business which either ends up turning into a scam or goes out of its way to become a scam to begin with, because there's so little regulation. That's kind of the point of the whole thing. But these guys, as you know, as you said in your show, and you point out to viewers, that these guys to begin with seemed very scammy and were very much in the game of enriching themselves. So yeah, it's one you could sort of see coming from a mile off. But if you're kind of a no coiner and you hear about Bitcoin and you want to get some, and you don't know how to, mine it, and then you Google the wrong thing, it'd be very easy to kind of fall for a scam like this. So my heart goes out for those who got ripped off, and hopefully, that they might be able to get some of their money back.
Corey.
Well, I don't know too much about this company in particular, but I know that in general, cloud mining, I've talked to a lot of people who made a lot of money in cloud mining in general, and they didn't make it through the actual mining itself. They made it all through referrals. So if that qualifies in and of itself as a scam, then I guess that's just a matter of perspective. But over the last couple of years, we've seen a ton of companies pop up with various new coins, new investment schemes. And I don't necessarily think that everyone out there doing starting these companies are scammers. I think that some of them are well-intentioned, but just very unaware of the landscape and not really familiar with how things work or how they'll be perceived. But this company in particular, I don't know too much about, but everyone should avoid cloud mining at all costs, no matter what.
And this was another company where they were promising returns that looked a little too good to be true. They had a good idea. They bought cloud miners in Iceland. They were a major miner of Bitcoin for a while there. So we might see a hit on the Bitcoin hash rate. They had real mines in Iceland. There was a point there where Blake Anderson and I were going to tour the Bitclub mines. It would have been very cool, but they wouldn't agree. Blake wanted to see their books and to understand how it really worked, and they wouldn't give him that kind of access, so we didn't get to go on the tour. I did hear a little of the things from the inside, from the underground. I heard that the people that were working there who I knew were doing very, very well, traveling around the world, having a good time. And I don't know so much about the Bitclub. At one time I heard everyone got paid and it was fine. But the problem with these Ponzi or potential or alleged Ponzi's is eventually not everyone gets paid. Let's move on to the exit question. Was this a scam? Was it an obvious scam? Dan.
I think reading up, it sounds like it was an obvious scam. I think that, that's why they've got the fraud charges, 2 of them intended from the start. So it's not looking good.
Ben from Wales.
It's not looking good, but then it is, they have all these people supporting them and they're saying all the right things. They're making everyone happy around them. And there isn't any regulation there. It's very easy to kind of walk into being a scammer. So they may have started out with good intentions and then just been taken away with the ride and ended up becoming scammers. I think that often happens quite a lot within Bitcoin. I hope to think that that's what actually happened, but in all likelihood from the onset, they were probably trying to rip people off, which is always a shame.
Corey.
I remember first hearing about Bitclub way back in the good old days when BitConnect was the go-to scam, and a lot of people got involved with BitConnect. I'm going to steer the conversation a little off just for a moment because to this day, everyone still believes that BitConnect itself was a scam, and
I don't. I'm all in.
a little different. My opinion's a little different. So everyone thought it was a scam because they're paying 1% per day forever, right? Well, Bitcoin rose to over 2% per day, every day on average for the whole year. BitConnect coin rose 8% per day on average for the whole year. So 1% payouts for BitConnect was a drop in the bucket compared to the amount of money that they were genuinely just printing. So if you're going to call something a scam, definitely take a deeper dive into it, find out who's running it, where it's being run from, and all that kind of stuff. But Bitclub has been around a long time, and that the fact they've been around a long time kind of helped garner their reputation a little bit as not being a scam. But again, cloud mining in general is a scam. And if you want to make money long term, just buy and hold Bitcoin.
Well, and the way a Ponzi scheme works is you take in new money to pay off the old money. So as long as you're taking in new money, it seems like everything's going fine and you can pay off the old money. The only problem is when everyone wants their money, it all comes tumbling down. So I agree with Ben on this. Probably the best of intentions, wanted to do something good for Bitcoin, but then so much money came in, so many potentially, I don't know, millions of users on this platform. Even if they were mining, even if the price of Bitcoin was going up, still, it doesn't sound like everyone was paid. It sounds like the structure was bad. I don't know, but it doesn't look good for Bitclub. They're in trouble.
You got to remember as well, like within Bitcoin, a lot of these people, they were then that they're not sort of your no coiner part of the no coiner business world. They're in quite a niche market where there's not many people who think to kind of make businesses within Bitcoin. So there's a lot of just ill-equipped business leaders just at that point. There were a lot of ill-equipped business leaders just within the Bitcoin ecosystem, which in the real world of business wouldn't be able to make any money at all. So but there's just a lack of competition among sort of CEOs. So that's incompetence is a lot, as we see with things like MT Cox, have a lot to play with in this sort of scenario.
I also think it's worth noting it's not the fault of the people who invested in this. It's not your fault if you're a big Bitclub supporter or if you liked this idea or you thought that it could work, or maybe like Corey's saying, you even got returns. Maybe you had 6 great months on Bitclub before it went bad, these kind of things. But we do potentially as a community have to prepare for all of these new people to enter the community and for them to be very upset that they've now lost their whatever it was, Bitclub tokens that were going to get them more money, because sure, they made a little money, but they probably didn't cover the same thing with the BitConnect, same thing with maybe the Bcashers losing 95% of their value in a year. All these people, we have to kind of welcome them back in, but we have to prepare for them to be a little salty. They've lost a lot of money. Things did not go out well for their plans. Moving on to issue 3, the next Pearl Harbor. China's gold-backed cryptocurrency will blindside the US dollar. Everyone's excited about China and cryptocurrency. After saying that blockchain was great, President Xi Jinping is destined for another collapse and another confrontation with Bitcoin. First, he said blockchain was great. Now they say that China is making their own gold-backed cryptocurrency. Ben from Wales, will China's gold-backed cryptocurrency be a success? Will it challenge the US dollar? Will it knock Bitcoin out of the spotlight?
I mean, if China do want to challenge the US dollar, then probably the best thing they can do is make a gold-backed Chinese cryptocurrency for people to trade all in. It would just be a superior money to the US dollar. But that's kind of the point. Like you see in software, so you have the free and open source movement, and it was a direct challenge to the proprietary system. And to begin with, they just kind of shrugged it off as this thing can't possibly challenge us. And then after a while, they realized they needed to adapt and incorporate some of those tools into their proprietary system. It's exactly the same in money. So, proprietary fiat is now realizing that it has to incorporate some of in order to compete with something like Bitcoin, it has to start incorporating some of the technologies, and it's dipping its toes in the stable coin area. If some of these baskets of assets, and if what's behind these stable coins whether it's China or whether it's, you know, Zuckbucks, if they're fairly well secured, then it could be, you know, a better money than people have currently in those countries or whatever. So so yeah, it's working towards better money. It's still not as good as Bitcoin, obviously, but it could be a direct competition for the US dollar. But then, you know, ultimately, what could the US do to challenge it? And that would be to start working with Bitcoin. So could be good.
Mr. Corey.
Well, the idea of anything backed cryptocurrency to me is ridiculous. Bitcoin itself is backed by the integrity of the network, plain and simple. You don't need anything to back it. And so when people come out with these new currencies that are backed by something, it just tells me that they don't understand the fundamentals. And ultimately, that will lead to failure. So that's pretty much my perspective.
Crypto Raptor. Still muted. Oh, and I can unmute you. No, maybe I can't.
Okay. Well, I've actually just finished working kind of with a project with a gold-backed asset, sidechain. But I think that there is value in asset-backed chains. At the end of the day, it's better that you have a currency that's backed by something than not. So I think it's a step up. Whether, you know, countries end up adopting Bitcoin, I don't know. But with the China and US thing, I mean, like, was it Donald Tusk recently said that the dollar's kind of, you know, got a strong hold on the world, and I think it's clear that China are trying to gear up to take on the dollar and become, like, you know, the one world currency. It'd be great if they adopt Bitcoin as a anti-measure.
I agree with Dan. It's definitely a step up and a digitization of Chinese currency. They're in a real tough position with the success of Alipay and WeChat. They have to do this. They have to digitize their currency, as well as we've been talking about negative interest rates. If you're going to do negative interest rates, people are going to withdraw their money from the bank. You have to have a way of penalizing that. You have to get rid of cash. This is one of the steps towards getting rid of cash. China's getting out ahead of the US here. A lot of people were talking about Libra. They were afraid of it. They were worried it was going to cause problems internationally. Now we see the Chinese could have their own version of Libra that they would control directly from top down. So again, you have to decide, do you prefer Zuckerberg? Do you prefer the Chinese government? Do you prefer Satoshi Nakamoto? Obviously, we're in a Satoshi camp here, but the rest of the world, all of this, again, it's digitized, it's on your phone, it's superior to cash, it's superior to your local currency, especially if you have a bad local currency like the Bolivar, something like that. This really could be world changing. We've already seen signs in America of companies accepting Alipay, accepting WeChat here. That's only one step away from saying accepting Alipay with the Chinese coin, accepting WeChat with the Chinese coin. Why not WhatsApp with the Chinese coin, or the Zuckbuck coin? Either way, I think we're seeing a lot of unique waves of other coins where Bitcoin will rise to the top, but these other things will take 90% of the share. Bitcoin will go in the back, maybe be a drug currency, maybe be a libertarian currency, maybe be a freedom currency. With these other things might be more popular currencies. Let's move on to the exit question, which is pretty much that. Ben from Wales, will the Chinese coin be more successful? Will the Facebook Zuckerberg coin be more successful? Will Bitcoin fade into the background as kind of a drug libertarian money while these other more popular projects take the mainstream?
Well, I'm one who believes that we sort of, as a human race, we drift towards more and more freedom. So you can't have that with the political money. All fields of economics agree that having an apolitical money is good. You know, the Keynesians and the Austrians and even the Marxists believe that apolitical money is good. It's just how you make that apolitical money. I won't have my little rant about the Bancor and Bretton Woods, but you know, I've done that before. And John Nash as well was another one who talked about ideal money and this idea of a competitor to controlled money, which would arise. So we're just seeing that process, and we're just seeing a drift towards more freedom, which means that obviously Bitcoin will be the ultimate winner in this game. But you know, some gold-backed currencies by businesses or by countries kind of makes sense as a journey towards that.
Corey, sitting right next to me.
Again, I'll reiterate that when you have a cryptocurrency in and of itself, if the network is strong, you don't need to back it by anything. And so I am definitely a Bitcoin purist, and I see all these attempts at coming up with currencies that are not Bitcoin are just putting off the inevitable, and it's very frustrating. So I think we have a couple more years of seeing new currencies come out, new backed currencies come out, backed by who knows what. But I'm expecting within the next 2 years, by August 2021, for Bitcoin to have really kind of clinched the top spot.
Dan, the crypto raptor.
Well, I reckon that if they do come up with it, I think it will be quite popular. If I'm honest, I think that the reason why is that not everyone values the same, principles, and one man's trash is another man's treasure, and kind of like the whole art debate. That banana on a wall, is it art? Is it worth something? And there's always going to be people that see value in something or are happy to have trade-offs. So projects, I think, that use the Bitcoin blockchain as a protocol, like for time stamping, for verification of data, I think that's a great use. But I do think we're going to see continued tokenization of all sorts of assets, and probably, to the scale that even all commodities like wheat and corn and shit will be 24/7 tradable on chains backed by whatever somewhere that's auditable. And there'll be definitely I'd imagine more transparency than, not saying it's bad, but Tether, for example.
It's backed by Joey in the back. But I agree with Dan. I think that these coins will be successful. They will be popular. The Facebook coin, the China coin, they'll be installed to a massive user base of millions and millions of people who will instantly find it easy to use. And that's what they're looking for, something that's easy to use. Bitcoin will exist in the background as another option that's not so easy to use, but allows you to do other things. Moving on. Did you know the World Crypto Network has its own podcast at World Crypto Network Podcasts? Search for it on Google or Apple Podcasts or Stitcher or, I don't know, Spotify, or wherever podcasts are sold and watched. Check out the World Crypto Network podcast. Issue 3, Hex. Richard Hart is back. The former contributor to the World Crypto Network has his own coin, and it's called Bitcoin Hex. He's learned from Bitcoin Cash and Bitcoin Diamond and Bitcoin Rhodium and the other ones that you should just add your name onto Bitcoin. He's allegedly offering certified deposits where you could deposit or lock up your Bitcoin in a series of smart contracts, receiving Hex coin in exchange for your Bitcoin or something like that. It has a lot of moving parts, including its very own Ethereum token, which you can buy, presumably at Richard Hart's website, whatever that is, .win. And a lot of people have called it out. He was on the Peter McCormick show, I think, for 3 hours. He's talked to Tone Vase, but that doesn't matter. The Hex coin raised $100 million for Richard, something like that, an incredible amount of money. I think we're going to start with you on this one, Corey. Are you ready? What do you think of Richard Hart and the Hex coin?
Personally, I like Richard Hart. I've had many conversations with the guy, and there's 2 ways to look at this. Number one, you can look at it as it's a scam, like everything else that seems to pop up. Or number 2, you can look at it like everyone else is printing their own money, so why can't I? Right. So depending on which camp you fall into really is going to determine how you feel about it. Me personally, it's just more it's more noise in the background. It has no impact long term on Bitcoin itself. And if you can get in and make some money, great. But it's the people who are going to lose money in the end who wish that they would have put their money in Bitcoin, I think. So I'm very neutral on it. To me, it's just scenery in the background.
Dan, Crypto Raptor.
Well, I haven't really read up much on this Hex thing, but just in this article, the way it's being explained, it's definitely like death by jargon with adoption amplifier and donating your coins instead of actually like buying them, or donating your Ethereum instead of an actual transaction being done. That would probably put it into the realms of a security. But yeah, I mean, it definitely seems like it's very over-engineered to try and confuse people into buying it without really knowing what it is, but throwing in there, what was it, 10,000%, 10,000x returns in under 2.5 years. And who wouldn't throw money into that?
It does seem like a great deal if it pays off. Ben from Wales.
Yeah, so you are actually donating your Bitcoin. You're just donating your Bitcoin to Richard Hart, and that's what this whole origin address thing is. I don't think it's quite up to 100 million yet, but I think by the time that the scam's kind of played its way out, it'll be worth 100 million. The dude's an incredibly clever guy, and equally like Corey, I like him. And he's said some great things in the past, and he's made some great calls, and I've followed some of his great calls and made a little bit of money on the side. So I can't give him too much crap, but there's so much engineering which has going into this project, and so much kind of hype, game theory, and game incentives to try and encourage people to hold their funds and to use ETH to buy more, to buy some of this Hex token, and then enrich Richard. So it's the whole thing's engineered for him to make a lot of money. I think by the end of it, he'll own. I think, did the article say 45%, or maybe that's another article I heard? He'll own 45% of all the Hex plus $100 million on $100 million or maybe more in Ethereum as well. So he's going to walk away incredibly rich from it. I do think there's probably some of the mechanics within the Hex thing itself, which is quite interesting and might end up being used for something good in the future. Again, it's the Wild West culture of Bitcoin. Someone can come along and do this kind of thing. The really perplexing thing is, he is essentially giving Bitcoin as something for free. And I'm sure a lot of Bitcoiners have claimed their X just in case it makes a little bit of money. So it's really the people who are then buying in with the ETH, who are the ones who are going to lose a lot of money, I guess. And then I suppose maybe for other people exposing their wallets or whatnot. But I mean, he's kind of an artisan scammer. He could use his powers for good, and he has in the past. He's used it for good, and he could use it for a lot more good on this planet. But it seems that he's quite consumerist, and he likes his nice things, and he's chasing those big bucks. So you just got to kind of watch it play out. It was quite entertaining, the discussions he had with some of the sort of maximalist types. I think it kind of discredited their arguments against him as a scammer, because they were coming at him from this kind of maximalist standpoint, which in itself is inherently, a bit ridiculous, or has been made to become a bit ridiculous. I think the only person who didn't come off as ridiculous was Giacomo Zucco, but at the very beginning, he made a point of saying, look, I'm not coming from that angle that, everything on this planet is a scam apart from Bitcoin. Because that's clearly, the wrong standpoint. So I think that was very wise of Giacomo Zucco, and he walked away from that discussion. And he was the one who held, I think, Richard to the most account compared to all of them. So it's fascinating to watch, and we'll just see how it plays out.
I agree with Corey that there's two kinds of people: the ones that want to print money and the ones that don't want to print money. Richard saw everyone else printing money, and he said, "Hey, me too." And there's nothing wrong with that. He's even pretty much discussed it. You could kind of watch it in his videos, watch his kind of turn from this maximalist, I hate altcoins, to more like, maybe I should have my own altcoin. Like Ben saying, maybe it should be really complicated and pay to this pile, to that pile, to that one. And then somebody gets rich and somebody else gets rich and all those kind of things. Like you said, it was an artisan scam. It's just a beautifully done and just a practical, beautiful piece of work. And
everything's in there, man. Everything's in there.
Well, it's a lot.
Do we have
like
a price on Hex? Is it trading?
I don't know if it's trading. I don't know if we have a price. It's a lot like Steam It, right? Steam It was a really cool idea. We were going to pay bloggers, but then they had 3 different coins, and this one was the stable coin, and this one was the steady coin, and that's the other. And there was all these different wheels, and they all spun together. And if they spun just right, like for a while, I really thought Bitclub was spinning just right, that the price of Bitcoin had gone up so much that they'd be able to pay back the people with what they mined. I don't know what happened on the internals. It doesn't seem like they paid people back, but the same thing with the Hex. Maybe the internals work and everybody gets paid back, for the first 6 months or for the first 6 years. I don't know, all these kind of things. But it just seems like, yes, he went into this money printing thing. He's into the money printing now. He's killing it. If he really does get $100 million, hey, Richard, how about $1 million donation to the World Crypto Network here? No, that's never going to happen. The same thing.
One of the
club was up. It's like they could have donated to us as well, but instead they'll go down with the money, or they'll burn it on drinks or something. Go ahead, Ben. Sorry.
Just one of the charming things about him, I think, is that he is clearly beneath it all a very good person. It's just so misguided, and it's you just want to kind of put him on the right path, and hopefully he'll find it one day and he won't cause too much damage on the way.
I loved his takedown in Malta, like his questioning of what's his name, Craig Wright. You see that? He was grilling him.
He did some great questions with Craig Wright. He did a great interview with Tone recently, or like a back and forth debate thing. And I agree with Ben. I think Richard's a good guy. I do like him. I think he's intelligent and above all this. Again, but I think he has a moral flexibility. If you know anything about his past, according to the internet, allegedly, all those things.
I saw that, but it's like a 16-year-old.
So he spams a bunch of people. They buy a product that's, penis enlargement or something they don't need, or something that's maybe even just a scam. Maybe they just take the credit card. I don't know anything about what he was selling. He told his story before. He was hustling car stereos. He was a hard worker. He, buys something for less, sells it for more. This is fine. This is America. And even with the spam thing, somebody bought it. They had their own free will. They chose to buy it. I never bought anything from spam, all these kind of things. But now he's back. He's got a new thing. The guys are all upset. There's a supporter of Hex in the chat. So we'll have to have an important Hex chat later, talk more about this. But no, I think Richard's a good guy. But again, he has this moral flexibility. So I think we'd have to talk about that. So, okay. So, all right, let's move on to the exit question. We've seen other altcoins come and go recently. I saw a great chart that showed that Zcoin and Basic Attention Token were both worth less than Dogecoin. Setting Dogecoin as our marker, will the Hex project be worth more or less than Dogecoin next year? Corey.
Next year, I'm assuming it'll be worth more, but long term, they're all going to zero except for Bitcoin.
Dan, Eve.
No way. Doge is going to reign. Doge reign.
Ben from Wales.
When it'll be worth less, because you have to lock your Bitcoin up for like 365 days. So everyone will be unlocking and trying to ditch their Hex, in like 355 days, or whatever it is. So it should be worth a hell of a lot less. That's when it really. Does he know he's muted?
I think you muted, mate.
No. Oh, no.
Yeah.
No. How much did I not say?
Just you need to introduce this topic again.
Dogecoin is going to go far. That's nonsense. Issue 4, NFL cleats. A player for the National Football League named Russell Okung for the Los Angeles Chargers has got some new shoes this weekend. They're letting the NFL players have their own cleats just for one game. While other players have chosen to highlight, are we still muted? Are they staying? I don't know. We're on a delay. While other players have chosen to highlight charities and other great causes, Russell has highlighted BTC Pay Server, the open source Bitcoin project which challenges BitPay, helping people pay for things in Bitcoin without using a middleman or a trusted third party. Pretty amazing for Russell to wear these cleats, but he might get some blowback from the other players in the NFL for not supporting a charity. Let's start with Corey first. What are your thoughts on the NFL and the Magic shoes?
I think these Magic shoes are truly magical. I think that the more high profile people that we have who are actually engaging with Bitcoin and trying to spread that awareness, especially something like BTC Pay, he's not being superficial here. The BTC Pay is legit. And for him to know about BTC Pay in the first place speaks a lot to his level of understanding. So I think that we need more people to be sporting BTC Pay shoes. And that might be one of the quicker ways to get further adoption is through having high profile people shill Bitcoin.
Dan, Eve.
Yeah, definitely agree with that. I think the more big names there are that are well, I wouldn't say endorsing it, but showing understanding of it. And I think you made a really good point choosing BTC Pay Server as a good cause. And although you mentioned that some people might critique it and say, well, why isn't he doing it for like water project or something? But there's, Wikipedia is a charity. WikiLeaks is a charity. People donate to whatever cause. It doesn't mean that they don't support whatever else there is that they could have picked, like, cancer treatment or whatever. So I think it's good that Bitcoin's in the limelight.
If only he had chosen cancer treatment, it would have solved the whole problem. Ben from Wales.
Yeah, it's a good cause, man. Like, it's helping give a lot of people a lot of freedom, so it is a good cause, and the shoes look great. So it's good to have another public sponsor of Bitcoin. I heard Tony Hawk himself is going to be doing Bitcoin 2020 in San Francisco. So that'd be cool. I didn't realize he was into Bitcoin. Someone told me that he's like an OG Bitcoiner, and he's always been following the Bitcoin, and he's going to be doing a talk there. So that's going to be great. It's they look cool, man. I hope if they sell those shoes, people buy them on a BTC Pay server. Let's hope.
I think it's very cool as well. Also, like Corey and everyone was saying, it's great that he chose to highlight BTC Pay Server instead of just highlighting Bitcoin or highlighting even just a Bitcoin charity. He highlighted an open source project, and it's kind of the nerdiest thing I've ever seen from a football player. And I think that's awesome. I think we need to reach out against all different groups of people. A lot of people are into football who aren't into Bitcoin. The same kind of thing when earlier events like this have happened with celebrities. Let's move on to the exit question. Which is the greatest celebrity Bitcoin interest? This one right here with the BTC Pay Server cleats, Katy Perry with the Bitcoin nails on Instagram. She also had altcoin nails. Or I can't think of a third celebrity. Oh no, then the soccer team, football team that had a sponsorship that says Bitcoin and has Bitcoin on the thing. So sponsored soccer team, the cleats with BTC Pay Server, or Katy Perry. Corey.
I'm not sure. However, I'm going to remind you of Steven Seagal shilling Bitcoin with the extra I in there. I thought that was comedy gold.
He's an Aikido guy too. I would have loved it if he was into real Bitcoin, but it was a bad Google search. Like when you used to search on Google and you get a totally different result.
Yeah, but I don't know these other backings.
So what you gonna choose? What's the one? Are you choosing the cleats?
I'll choose the cleats. Yeah.
All right, Dan over there in England, you're gonna go with the soccer team. You're gonna go with Katy Perry's shoes or Katy Perry's fingers or the cleats. Go ahead.
It's got to be the cleats. Great cause, load of publicity. I mean, Katy Perry might have a bigger audience, but yeah, I think that the thought of it, NFL, is it NFL? NFL cleats, wearing it, BTC Pay Server, sick.
Ben from Wales, last chance for the football team.
Well, what about no one's put poor Katy Perry? No one's done Katy Perry of the year. She at that time in 2017 or whatever it was when she did the fingernails and all the shoes. I'm sure I don't know my fucking celebrity bollocks, but I'm sure that she shilled Bitcoin to a lot of people, and then people around her lost a bit of money buying it. So you sort of see a lack of support now from a lot of these people. So it's cool these guys come out with the shoes, and I'm sure in the next big pump they'll all be on the back of Bitcoin.
It was great to see Katy Perry in the nails, but remember, she also had altcoins on her nails. So like Ben's saying, if you invested in Katie's whole hand, you might have lost money. I like the football team that had the sponsorship. It's very cool. Again, it was not even sponsoring their company. They just put Bitcoin on there. They put a Bitcoin logo on there. But like Dan's saying, Russell Okong really comes through here with the BTC Pay Server cleats. It could have been a Bitcoin company. It could have been Bitcoin itself. Instead, it's this kind of nerdy open source project. I don't think a lot of people know about it. I've got a t-shirt from them in the other room. We had a great interview with them at Bitbrum. Check that out right here on the World Crypto Network. Getting a phone call, but we're also running out of time or moving on towards the end of the show. Dan, are you ready with a prediction or a story of the week?
Story of the week was that last Friday, Was it last Friday? Yeah, last Friday. So 1 week ago, I was. I know this will probably, ruffle a few feathers because some people they're a bit of, contention. But I rapped at Coinbase, Coinbase's Christmas party, which is pretty cool in London. So did my tunes, bit of rapping, bit of singing, bit of random jibber jabber in between. Went pretty well.
Very cool. Good job, Dan. Did you wear the noddle hodl?
I think. Do you know what? I was wearing the t-shirt underneath, but I had a jacket.
There it is.
Oh.
T-shirt underneath, rocking the noddle. Very cool. And cool of Coinbase for having you as well. So
yeah, definitely.
Coinbase. I said it right. All right, Ben from Wales, prediction or a story of the week. Go ahead.
Well, the story of the week and why I'm pretty tired is I've been working on my most recent hack. One of my big problems with, I quite like some level of custodianship for some stuff. Like I don't want to expose all my funds and my node to me dicking about with my little devices and so on. Or if I have an ATM, I don't want to expose all my funds to my ATM. So I've actually been building kind of like a simple Python wallet, which can sit on top of any funding source and you can generate multiple accounts from it. So I've actually got it up. It's like really hacky at the moment. Currently, the fantastic Fiat Jaff and Eneco as well, which is a great developer, Python developer, they're going through my shitty code and fixing it, which is very kind of them before we kind of like release it to the public as a free and open source, completely free and open source project. So can everyone see my screen?
Yeah.
You can see that? It looks like it's a little bit small. Hold on. Maybe I need to, can you see like the full screen?
I think we can see the full screen.
Yeah, there we are. Cool. Can you see like where my cursor is now? Yeah. When we're doing it
Yeah.
now?
Yeah.
So the way this works is like simply I can just put in like any name, just for a wallet, and then it instantly generates a wallet. I can like receive funds, so I can like generate an invoice for a Lightning invoice, and then it generates an invoice, so you can send funds to that. And then when you receive the funds, obviously it updates the balance. You can also like send funds via pasting an invoice. There's the ability to be able to use a camera. This also works for mobile, may I add. I think I wonder if you'll be able to see this. If I like make it sort of mobile ready, here we are. So it's kind of the mobile ready version of the site. Now, one of the cool things is that I can have this wallet, and then if I click down here, I've got API keys just for this wallet. And if I want to generate a new wallet, say for like, I don't know, an M5 stack sats, I can generate a new wallet, and that'll have completely different API keys, which you can use to plug in to that wallet. It's completely free and open source. It'll be easy to kind of download and put on top of any funding source. You could put it on top of, I don't know, an LND node or a C Lightning node, or even like you could use OpenNode as a funding source if you wanted to. There will be some extensions built into it as well for making fun things like faucets and so on. Let's see if this works. I've got one of my M5 stack sats here, and this is actually connected to one of my LM bits wallets. I can just about see there we are. I can just about see the logo rendering up there. And then there we are. So this is actually just connected directly to the API of one of those wallets. So once it launches, anyone can just go on and just like generate wallets easily. It's like an Insta wallet. So the wallet itself, you don't really have like, currently you don't really have like a username and password. It's just a URL which you bookmark. There's also some other cool functionality which I'm going to be working in to make it function with the ATM. So that I'm looking forward to kind of showing how that's going to work. But yeah, it's just a really simple account system which you can stick on top of a funding source. Also has some funky stuff you couldn't see as well. Like it has when you do some transactions, has like a nice table for the transactions, and also has like a line graph of your spending habits over time. The ability to export to CSV as well, so you can like put it into your QuickBooks. Part of the motivation behind this, I'm sorry if I'm ranting a little bit too long, part of the motivation behind this is that obviously in Room 77 in Berlin, Jorg, the owner, is using one of these things to accept payments, and it's actually done so well. He's in this funny position now as a cypherpunk and a crypto anarchist that he's got to pay his taxes, and he hasn't really got a record of like all these transactions, all just muddled up with regular normal Lightning transactions in his node. So this would act like a kind of accountancy software which you could export a CSV out of, and then he could bring into his QuickBooks and he could use for his taxes or whatever else. So very cool, really excited to get it launched. Hopefully, Fiat Jaff and Eneco are doing an amazing job. So I'm going to let them do their thing, and then, you know, try not to get in their way too much. And then hopefully I'll be releasing it this weekend with like a tutorial and all that sort of stuff on how to run it yourself. So yeah, really looking forward to that.
Nice. That sounds awesome, man. Good luck.
Yeah, it sounds great. Congratulations, Ben. Good stuff. All right. And Corey, are you ready with a story of the week or a prediction?
Yes, prediction. We have till August 2021 of volatility in Bitcoin prior to the breakout. The breakout will come before August 2021, and this I determined based on the 14,000 data point that we got a couple months ago that seemed to come out of nowhere. But if you chart the pennant pattern that started back in 2012, that's when the pennant completes. So expect something big in the next year and a half.
August 2021. There you go. Well, remember, we do have the halving coming up in May of 2020. That could be good for Bitcoin too. We just want to remind you, we're still having the Mad Bitcoins 2019 fundraiser. If you like this show and the other shows that Mad Bitcoins works on, donate now to the QR code on your screen. We accept Bitcoin and Lightning. We're 4.84% towards our goal. Thanks so much to everyone who donates and supports the show, gives us a thumbs up and a share. Just want to say, glad to be back on these shows. I took some time off, tried to relax a little bit, and Bitcoin and the news just kept going. So it's good to be back with you guys talking about Bitcoin and the news. We hope to get back on more of a regular schedule now that I'm home for a while again. Not much else. We'll try to bring back Bitcoin Talk Show, some of the other shows around here too. Try to get Dan, maybe Corey, maybe Ben to do a show again, get them back on it, get Max back on here. I haven't seen enough Max lately, so that would be great. But thanks again to everybody for watching. We're just going to end this, make this quick show.
Can I do some shilling real quick?
Corey, okay, you want to talk about podcasts?
Okay, so the last almost 3 years, I've been working with Thomas and Tone and Jimmy and Saifedean and handling all their podcasts, audio, uploading and all that stuff. And the fundamental problem that I've run into is trying to monetize podcasting. And over the past 6 months, I have developed a new monetization system that basically solves the ultimate monetization problem for content producers, at least the low level guys, right? The guys with 500 listeners, 1,000 listeners. I'm looking for people to beta test my new system. If you're a content producer, if you can go to monetize.vip and fill out the little form at the bottom. I'm looking for probably somewhere between 10 and 15 people to help me test this new system before I roll it out. Also, I need a WordPress expert to help me do all the things I can't do. So if there's anybody out there who knows WordPress really well, please hit me up. You can hit me up at Corey@monetizevip.com. Oh, I'm sorry, Corey@monetize.vip. And that's about it.
All right, very cool. Check it out. Corey's going to monetize podcasts. And like he said, he's been helping us out converting the Bitcoin group and all these other shows into audio podcasts that then you can download and check out on iTunes. So until next time, bye-bye.